All right, let's explore then the idea of America buying Greenland with Steven Beardsley from DW Business. Welcome back, Steven.
Hi, Phil.
And let's start with a potential price tag. How much am I offered for this magnificent island?
I guess it depends on what would you value it at, right? How do you assess value when it comes to geostrategic territories like Greenland? And what we could say is there are tangible values to it, right? If we look at the amount of resources there, I think we've all heard enough now about how there's gold, there's oil, there's these critical minerals that have become only more critical in recent months, actually, as China has really cracked down on the export of them. So there's a lot of covetous eyes on everything that Greenland has that is of material value. That's for sure. Some assessments put that into the trillions, right? But more importantly, there is intangible value in so much around all of this. To Greenlanders, for whom this is their home, to those people of Denmark, for whom I think they've owned the territory for, more than 600 years, technically? And then for Americans who say this is about our national security. And when they say that, then it's the value of the whole U.S. there. So that's the problem when you're talking about selling something or buying something here. It's not a real kind of sell where someone makes an offer and then China comes in and makes a competing bid. This is going to be a coerced sale if one takes place at all.
Right, because the alternative to the financial offer is we send the guns in.
It's not a sale in which one person says, I'll give you this much, and then someone else can say, but I'll offer you this much, and then this person says, well, I'll raise it because the stakes are too high. So it's not really kind of open market sale of anything.
Might the US actually have a point when they say they can, though, invest more in the territory than Denmark and ultimately provide Greenlanders more security, a greater economic benefits, development, even jobs?
So the U.S. has more resources to, in theory, provide more on the island. The question is, to whose benefit is that? When we talk about security, the U.S. believes it has a big security concern there facing the U.S. continent. Not for security on Greenland. I don't think Greenlanders are really concerned. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're so concerned about new Arctic pathways opening up, Russia's presence, China's presence in that hemisphere. That's an American concern. So America's right. It can build up that security infrastructure, but that's for the American gain. And when we talk about developing mineral resources, most of who's lining up to do that are private companies. And these are across the world. So some of them are American, but some of them are European, Asian, Australian. And that's going to be exploited regardless. Greenland is in the process of granting these exploration licenses and eventually licenses to actually drill. It's just that the logistics of it are really difficult. And the question of how they want that to be done. So the Americans might have a different idea of how these resources should be exploited than, say, Greenland does.
OK. But people sort of rolling their eyes at the notion of Donald Trump with a wheelbarrow full of cash for Greenland, except that this would not be the first time America has done this.
Not at all. And some of the things that first come into Americans' minds are the Louisiana Purchase, through which the U.S. gained a bunch of its western territory, 19th century. And then
this is America buying it from
France, right? And then, of course, the purchase of Alaska, 2 cents an acre is the famous line there, a fantastic price for a vast land. But then there's one from Russia. But then there's a lot of people. There's one that a lot of people overlook, and that is the U.S. purchase of the Virgin Islands in 1917. That was $25 million. And can you guess from whom the purchase was made? Who was the seller?
Well, I'm guessing that the people on the island had little to nothing to do with it.
It was Denmark.
Okay.
And the reason that the U.S. wanted it was because of a security issue. They said German U-boats could set up here, the German Navy could set up here, and then give us trouble in the Atlantic and the Caribbean. And so they went to Denmark and said, are you willing to sell it? It was unpopular amongst the Danish public. They said, we know how your civil rights are in the U.S. We want people in the West, they call it the West Indies, I believe, or the Danish West Indies, to have the same rights that they would have under us if they go over to America. And that's what the Danish minister put forward. The U.S. said, no, we can't guarantee that. The Danish minister said, no, then it's not for sale. And then the U.S. said, then we will occupy it if you're not going to sell it to us. At which point the Danes said, okay, all right, then. We'll sell. And it was for $25 million in gold coins.
Right, so we have been here before. Thanks for that quick history tour there. Steven Beardsley from DW Business.